where would that tree fall in orientation to my house? Worst case scenario, if that were to happen. So if you have any more kind of vulnerable trees in your area, be mindful of that. Now in Birmingham right now, we are tracking some intense storms moving in. You can see around Railroad Park over towards Avondale, Redmont Park. This is around 5 Points and into Mountain Brook. This is the most intense part of this particular storm, where we've got some heavy downpours. That bright red is indicating some heavy rain and some frequent cloud to ground lightning around Protective Stadium. And I know we do have a Barons baseball game scheduled for tonight. I'm not sure exactly what. We'll be keeping an eye on that as we go through. The thing is, once these storms move through, they'll be out of here pretty quickly. But this really intense lightning and heavy rain, possibly some gusty winds on this line, is moving towards I-20. So a first alert for Irondale, Crestline Gardens, even Mountain Brook. This is going to be moving in shortly. So that's the Birmingham Metro that we're keeping an eye on. Fultondale and Center Point, Gardendale, Trussville, seeing some intense cloud to ground lightning. You just don't want to be outside when this is coming through. And we'll also go up now to Blount County, where we've been watching this severe thunderstorm warning unfolding. I notice here as we look at our radar, and I'm going to clear the lightning because there's honestly so much lightning, sometimes you can't even see what you're looking at. Around Greystone and Allgood, where you see that pink fuchsia color showing up, that would indicate that along Highway 75, you could be seeing some hail falling. And this is pushing east-northeastward towards Highway 231. So we actually have a little arrow here that we can track and get some more accurate first alert times for you as this is moving through Blount County and headed towards Etowah County. Oneonta moving in at 245, Champion 248, Hortons Mill 251. Murphy at 253, moving to the east-northeast at about 35 miles per hour. So if you are in areas in St. Clair County, over into Etowah County, I would say Gadsden, Steele, Asheville, Springville, Ragland. This will be in your neck of the woods within the next 30 minutes. And so that's the northeastern and central part of this line. We'll move down a little farther to the south. If you recall, 30 minutes ago, these storms were moving through Tuscaloosa. Now they've booked it on out of here. So this is moving really quickly, which has an advantage. If the storms are moving quickly, then they get out of here quickly. The problem is sometimes when they're moving quickly, that can make the winds more intense and they blow through and pack quite a punch. So now we're looking at an intense part of this line coming through Bibb County. I want to note around Tannehill State Park, that's where some hail could possibly be falling, where you see the pink showing up there near Mountaintop Drive, Eastern Valley Road, getting into parts of Shelby County as well. So in this area here, that's where there's possibly some hail falling south of I-20. This particular severe thunderstorm warning for Bibb County is in effect until 3:30 p.m. Central Time. Now, I'm going to look at our latest update from the National Weather Service. Let's see, watching a Boeing segment that could provide enhanced wind damage threat further into Bibb and Shelby counties. Okay, and that's kind of what we're checking on right here, is this particular area. It's actually what we were just zoomed in on, looking at the potential for hail, but I don't want to discount that this particular part of the storm right here, it almost looks like it's beginning to bow out a little bit. You hear us talk a lot about how to spy damaging winds on radar. Well, you look for what appears to be, if you think about a bow and arrow, get rid of the arrow, think of the bow, that same shape. And so that's what we're beginning to see taking hold here as this is moving into areas like Glen Carbon, Anita, Bamford, Jennery. So as this pushes from Gray Hill and Bucksville and pushes east-northeastward, areas like Roebuck, Coalmount could potentially see some more intense parts of the storm, maybe even into parts of Pelham as well. The most intense part of this right now is south of 459, but you have to think, okay, if it's moving east-northeastward, it could certainly get very close to that 459 corridor. You don't want to be on the roads when this is coming through, and my goodness, you don't want to be outside. Now, we had been talking about Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt. He was in Alabaster earlier for Alabaster City Fest, and hopefully he can go back when things kind of quiet down. But this likely this part of the line that's causing some damaging wind gusts. I wouldn't be surprised if it makes it towards Alabaster. Now, the first alert times in the interim for this, moving into Rickey at 2:44 with a damaging wind risk, Bucksville 2:47, Tannehill State Park 2:48, and Lowtown at 2:50. That particular part of the line is moving at 40 miles per hour. So you can get these little areas along the line that are moving more quickly or more slowly than areas relative to it. So the fact that this part of the line is moving pretty quickly, that would indicate to me, hey, as you go further down the line here, that's where we could be seeing the potential for wind damage as this approaches I-65 into Shelby County. But I mean, here at the station, we are hearing this rain coming down. It is pouring here, also pouring in Hueytown, and you can see Birmingham is just covered up by heavy downpours. And some of the heaviest rain right now falling around Regions Field. As we look at those first alert times as it heads, I mean, these first alert times are basically showing, yeah, it's coming through right now and moving towards English Village around 2:45 over into Mountain Brook. The Highland Park Golf Course. Don't want to be at a golf course right now. I actually saw someone on our National Weather Service chat was posting from Topgolf in Birmingham and showing the winds whipping as they were coming through. So I can't emphasize enough, you do not want to be outside. If you have any friends or family who are east of this line and these storms haven't come through yet, give them the first alert. We always say you can be the hero too, not just us here on the First Alert Weather Team. You have the ability to give that first alert and make sure people are safe, because we're already getting multiple reports of damage across central Alabama, and a lot of that being tree damage. So we'll go up to the northern part of this line again and zoom in here on Etowah County, where ahead of the main kind of batch of storms, we've also had some activity that's formed out ahead of that around Reese City up towards Flanders along I-59. Some very heavy rain is falling that is going to make for lowered visibility and likely putting some ponding on the roads, but also seeing some lightning with this as well. And I say that, I turned off the lightning counter, so let's pull it back up. Yeah, I mean, just in this one little radar view alone where we have zoomed in, we're detecting almost 600 lightning strikes. So, you know, before these storms came in, it was so hot, it was so muggy outside, it just felt soupy. And that is an environment, when you have these storms coming in from the northwest, it thrives in that type of environment. That type of environment really helps to energize these storms as they move in and can make them certainly dangerous with damaging wind potential. So we're also seeing part of the line bowing out a little bit near Altoona, Bethlehem, Highland Lake, Holly Springs. As we're looking at the picture here, we're looking at parts of Coleman County into parts of St. Clair County down there as well. So what we're looking at here, I said St. Clair County, Etowah County. So with parts of Coleman County, Blount County, Etowah County here, you can see this intense part of the line is creating some heavy downpours and some intense cloud to ground lightning. And you see how much we're zoomed in here on these counties in our area. I mean, it's almost 1,000 lightning strikes. So this is really potent. And the problem is, and I'm actually going to do this right now before I forget, is that as this comes through, when these damaging winds come through, we've already been in a very saturated pattern. Remember how much rain we got back in May? Well, the ground's already really saturated, and so it doesn't take much wind to knock over a tree, because those trees just don't have that support now of that drier ground. So what we want to look at is, let me see if I can find it here on our Barron system that we have. One of our tools allows us to see what the county power outages are. So let's see here. So this is giving us a look at how many people are without power in each county. Where you're seeing the greens, that would indicate maybe between 5,000 to 10,000 customers without power. You can see in Jefferson County over 6,000 customers without power, as well as in Tuscaloosa County. In Walker County, 7,500 customers without power. Winston County, almost 1,000 customers without power. And it looks like Coleman County, yeah, 10,000 customers without power. So if you live somewhere like Alabaster, Centerville, Talladega, Jacksonville, Gadsden, Anniston, and these storms haven't officially made it to your neck of the woods yet, just know that as they come in, they're going to have that potential to produce power outages. So hopefully you heeded our advice yesterday and you have been charging those devices. So we'll go back to the radar view here so we can get a clear view of where all of the warnings are. Notice we can sound the all clear for Walker County, Tuscaloosa County, Pickens County, Lamar, Fayette, Winston, Marion, and Coleman County. The worst of the storms have moved through. You're still seeing some rain, but we can sound the all clear. And areas farther to the south, Sumter, Greene, Hale County, you weren't even included in the severe thunderstorm watch because you can see the worst part of this line and the way the storms were oriented as they came through, they stayed right above you. So that's why the watch is extending to the Alabama-Georgia state line, but areas in the southwestern portion of our viewing area weren't included. So looking at these polygons here, where you see the yellow polygons flashing, those are indicating severe thunderstorm warnings. And so what the National Weather Service is doing is they are giving as much lead time as possible so folks can heed these warnings and get inside and take safe shelter. We've got so many outdoor events going on this weekend, and with the potential for straight line wind damage and cloud to ground lightning, you just don't want to be outside during this. So we now have new severe thunderstorm warnings for Cherokee County, Calhoun County, Talladega County, down into Coosa County and Chilton County, and these are all in effect until 4 p.m. Central Time. And right now it's 2:48 p.m. So you think, oh, this is in effect like over the next hour. Well, like I said, they want to make sure you're paying attention, got that first alert, that you have plenty of time to get inside as these storms are moving through. So zooming in here, Trussville and Margaret, you were seeing a very intense part of this line. Some of the most intense lightning we're seeing with this is north of I-20 in Jefferson County and St. Clair County. So here are some updated first alert times within the next 10 minutes as this particular part of this line moves to the east at about 25 miles per hour. This is the possibility not just for heavy downpours and lightning, gusty winds, but maybe even some hail on this. So moving into Chalkville at 2:51, Tutwiler Farm 2:52, Woodward at 2:54 p.m. and Cahaba Crest at 2:55 p.m. And those are those first alert times for you. Looking back a little farther to the south towards the Birmingham Metro. This is where that really intense rain is coming down. I know we often have a lot of reports of flooding in Hoover, so if you have to be out and about, and I hope my husband is listening while I'm saying this, make sure that you are just staying put and not out on the roads because this will be leading to some intense flooding. Now, a little bit farther to the south and west, we are still looking at Jefferson County, still covered up with some very heavy rain and intense cloud to ground lightning right along 459 and up towards I-20 near Bessemer, still seeing some more moderate rainfall and then some really heavy downpours farther to the south. Now, we were talking about how we were watching as this particular part of the line towards the end, it almost looked like it was bowing out a little bit as it was moving into Shelby County and into parts of Bibb County. So heavy rain falling along Highway 5. When you see that bowing segment, that could indicate some strong wind gusts here. And we'll actually turn on our velocity product. This can give us a better view of where some of these most intense winds are within the line. And what's happening is that the storms are now getting closer to the radar site that is in Shelby County. So oftentimes you have this little cone where you can't see anything right above the radar site because it's right there. So it's not able to detect it, but you can see as it's approaching the radar site where we're seeing these bright greens, that's where those winds along the leading edge of this line are gusting pretty significantly. So we're seeing the possibility of about 55-mile-per-hour gusts near Bamford, and that is headed towards areas like Pelham, Alabaster. We were talking about Alabaster City Fest, and I know Chief Meteorologist Wes White was holding down the fort there, but he thankfully came in to help out with severe coverage today. But This is actually showing as this moves towards Alabaster some of those first alert times. This is moving eastward at about 40 miles per hour and could be producing some hail as well. So moving into Turner at 2:57, Fox Trace at 2:59, Superior 3 p.m., Chestnut Glen around 3:01 p.m. And then that's just going to keep on moving eastward. So I would say areas like Pelham, Alabaster, Glen Forest, Cahaba Valley Estates, you need to go ahead and be in your safe place. Well, we appreciate you tuning in with us. We're going to continue to be tracking these storms as we go across central Alabama, and we'll have updates for you on air and online as the evening progresses.
This has been a First Alert weather update from the First Alert Weather Team.